Okay, Rav, we're recording.
You turn to page 25A1. In the beginning of the page, we are starting a new thing on the third line. Ibailu. The Gemora said, the rabbis had the inquiry. What happened if a woman as we know, when a woman is getting married, there is a chuppah, then there is a ketubah. This one we're talking about. The ketubah is kind of a surety that if the husband will divorce her, there is a certain amount of money which she'll have to pay. This gives the wife a little bit of a surety that he can't just come one day in a bad mood and say, you are divorced, I'm going to divorce you. So this is what the rabbis established, that there is a ksuba. This is something which, as I said, gives a kind of a surety that not just going to divorce her. You have to think twice because there is amount of money that he'll have to pay. Now, the question is like this. What happened to a woman, to the wife, which she transgresses, as he says, it transgresses the code of Jewish practice? Behaves not like you expect a Jewish woman to behave. For example, the example is like if she goes into a public area without the proper air covering. In other words, she behaves in an immodest way. She also, he says in the English, she flirts with men. So what the question is, usually the husband, first of all, he warns her. Actually, the warning usually is if he suspects her to the temple to drink the water and so on. Here we're not talking about such a way that he blames her for having an affair, but he doesn't like the way that she behaves, not in a modest way that a Jewish woman should. It's like behaves, as he says, is promiscuously. Now, the question is, the husband want to divorce her. does he have to warn her before that, listen, he says to her, listen here, I don't like you to behave like that. He can divorce her without any warning, right? According to Torah law, we know that a husband can divorce his wife against her will. I mean, he doesn't have to ask her consent. This is according to ancient law. However, it was Rabbeinu Gershom, I think maybe 2,000 years ago or less, he made a decree that a husband cannot divorce his wife without her consent, unless there is a legal reason that he can. So this is something that the practice of this in our time, a husband cannot just divorce, he doesn't like her behavior. But we are talking now before this decree of Rabbeinu Gershom. He could divorce her without any kind of warning before and so on. However, if he divorces her without a good reason, then obviously he has to pay for the ksuba. The question of the Gemora is, if she behaves, as we say, promiscuously, and therefore he wants to divorce her, does it require for him, first of all, to warn her that she must stop behaving the way that she behaves? And if she does not adhere to the warning, then he divorces her and she will lose the ksuba. The question of the Gemora is now, in order for her to lose the ksuba, or to deprive her of her ksuba, does she need a warning, or the very fact that she behaves in such a way, then he can just divorce her and he doesn't have to pay the ksuba, because the very fact that she behaves this way, this is a good reason for her to divorce and to lose the ksuba. This called in the Gemora, such a woman, that is called Overet al Dat. She is transgressor of the code of Jewish practice, or of the code of Jewish practice of a wife. Like, as I said, examples that she doesn't cover her hair, she flirts with men, she behaves not in a modest way. So this is the question is, in order for her to lose the ksuba, does it require a warning, or the very fact that she behaves this way, he can divorce her? Again, to divorce her, he doesn't need any justification to prove in the Beis Din that he can divorce her against her will. But, as I said, if he divorced her, just divorce her, she doesn't lose the ksuba. The whole idea of the ksuba was in order to give her some security that the husband can't get a mishugas, get up and say, I'm divorcing you. So therefore there is a ksuba. However, if she is breaking the law of behavior of a Jewish woman, then the question is, yes, he can divorce her without anything, but then he will have to pay ksuba. The question is, does he need to warn first? I don't like you or the way you behave, and she doesn't adhere to it, then he divorces her and she loses the ksuba. Or he doesn't need any warning. This is what the question, what the Gemora says. Do we say that since she transgresses the code of Jewish practice, as I said, of a Jewish married woman, she does not need a warning, and then she will be divorced without a claim on the ksuba? Or perhaps she needs a warning. Why? That to give her a chance that if he warns her, she can stop her behavior and she'll have an opportunity to repent, to be sorry, and then things go well. This is the question that the rabbis in the yeshiva were asking. Clear?
Yeah.
So the Gemara attempts to resolve this question from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says there are a couple of women, but now we are talking about two women which they don't drink. He cannot make this woman to drink, but she loses the ksuba. Who are these two women? Arusa. This is by now. I hope you remember. Arusa is a woman that she's engaged to her husband, but yet didn't go under the chuppah. This is called a status of Arusa. It's not like an engagement today. Engagement today, I'll explain to you, is if a couple getting engaged, this means only a promise to get married. But there is no any requirement to break the engagement unless there is maybe they make a kind of that he will pay if she demands, whatever. But there is no need to have a get, don't ever to have a divorce. So this is, but she's not allowed to have an affair with somebody else, although she hasn't yet completely married. The second woman, Shomeret Yavam, this is a woman that her husband died and childless, so she needs to go to have a yibum to marry to her brother-in-law. We discussed it a couple of times. So these two women, they're kind of bound not to have any affair. They're still considered to be bound to the future husband or the brother-in-law, but they don't live yet together. So the question is, so the Mishnah says, what happened if this man, this future husband, suspects her that she has the bitter water. So the Mishnah says these two women neither drink the bitter waters nor collect the ksuba, which means they depart and no ksuba. So the Mishnah now implies the Gemora in the second paragraph that it is only drinking that she does not do. These two women, because they are not completely married, then he cannot make them to drink. But
Rabbi, can you
yes,
hear me? How does the woman get the ksuba without getting married?
so because I said they are already connected. They don't live together. But there, as I said, if they want to depart, then because the ksuba comes at the time of the engagement. The engagement, when he gives the ring, he says, "Arat mekudeshet li," there already there is a ksuba. Okay? In spite of the fact they are not yet living together.
I was wondering what the quantum of the ksuba is.
No, the purpose here that the husband cannot break up this contract, so to speak, that he gave her the ring, and he said, "Arait mekudeshet," this kind of an engagement. So the woman has got some kind of assurance that if he breaks the engagement by the way that he wants the divorce, because he needs to give her a get in order to go out, then he has to pay the ksuba. You follow?
It's a question. The question I'm asking you is, what is the quantum? How much should the ksuba be?
Well, the ksuba, there is in the there is a sum of money, essential minimum, which is 200 zehuvim. There is a kind of exact kind of money which was decreed in olden times. Virtually today, it's really don't mean much, because the value can mean maybe what, 10,000 shekel, or which not really very much. But today, usually when people are getting married, so in addition to the ksuba which were required by the rabbis as a minimum, usually there is an additional sum of money that the chosen, the groom, promised that in case if he will divorce her, he won't only give her the minimum of exuberance, there is something which is called the additional amount. But this is just for a matter of to understand the principles. But now what the Mishnah saying here, the Gemora wants to say that these two women, because they are like in a special kind of statute, not completely married, but that still are kind of engaged, the husband or the future husband, he can he is jealous. He wants to he doesn't want actually to. He would like to have the process as a usual way after they're married. So we learned before, if they are married, the husband warns her first, listen, I don't want you to be seen with this person, and she doesn't adhere to it, then what does the husband do? There are two possibilities. Either he divorces her if she doesn't want to drink the water, he divorces her, pay her exuber, and then, or she denies any kind of suspicion, and then the husband says, look, I don't like to divorce you if you are completely innocent. We'll go to Yerushalayim, where you'll drink the bitter water, and this will prove, right? Now, these two women, which are not completely married, the Mishnah says, he cannot make her to drink the water. To drink the water, a person can do only after they completely married. In this stage, what happened? He can't give her to force her to drink. So the Gemora applies, but he can warn her. If her partner, I mean the Arus or the Yavam, wants her against secluding herself with another man, the warning is legally significant. He doesn't have to, but he can. And the Gemara says, what purpose is in warning her? If she doesn't drink the waters anyway. So what is the purpose of to warn her? Correct? Implies the warning will serve for something. For what? To deprive her of her husband ksuba. So we see a woman who behaves immorally loses her ksuba only if she was warned. So this seems to be a proof in our Mishnah to the question that the rabbis ask. If a woman does not behave according to Jewish practice, does the husband warn her, or straight away he divorces her if she doesn't adhere, and she losing exuber without warning? So from our Mishnah, the Gemara wants to derive the Arusa and the Shomeret Yavam, these two women, they don't drink. You can't afford them to drink. Nevertheless, the Mishnah says that if he divorces them, they lose exuber. So what do you see? It implies they don't drink, but he warns her. So we see that this woman, which does not adhere to the way that is expected of her, has to be warned in order, if the husband wants to not to pay her ksuba. All right? So we had a question. A woman who is suspected for misbehavior, like, as I said, doesn't adhere to the code of Jewish woman. He wants to divorce her. Does he have to pay her ksuba? Or, first of all, he needs to warn her only then, if she does not adhere to the warning, then lose the ksuba. So the Gemora wanted to derive from our Mishnah that we see the very fact that we can derive from the Mishnah that these two women are deprived of her ksuba, in fact, in spite of the fact they don't drink the bitter water, shows that the husband warns her, has to warn her before. This is what the Gemora wants to say. Because
Rabbi, how is this different if they already married? Surely it seems to be the same as to when they are already married. If a woman is married and has an affair, the way that the law says...
No, we are not talking yet with the affair. We are talking it that the way that she behaves publicly, not according to the code. So the Gemora says he is the problem, the dilemma was he can divorce her. The question is, if he divorces her, does she lose the ksuba? Or, yes, she will lose the ksuba only if he gave her a chance. He warned her first, I don't want you to behave this way anymore, and she persists on doing it, then she loses the ksuba. Otherwise, she doesn't lose the ksuba. He gives the ksuba and they go.
But that's if the woman is adulterous, right? He still has to warn her before he takes her to drink the bitter waters, before he can divorce her without paying the ksuba.
No, but here, this woman, the law does not prescribe that he can make her to drink water. In fact, water is only for women who are completely married, not those that, let's say, half married. So here, the Gemara want to know, because the Mishnah says these women are neither drink the bitter water and nor collect the ksuba. So the Gemara wanted to know, so what happened? Must be that he's warned her before. And so we wanted to, by this, to conclude that these women who are just engaged or expecting to have a ibum, which are, let's call them half married, that they will lose the question, do they lose ksuba only after he warns them and they continue, or the mere fact that their behavior is so is entitled to divorce her? But maybe if he wants to divorce her without warning, he cannot deprive her of the ksuba. This is the question of the Gemora, and the Gemora wants
That shows that she suffers the same punishment, whether she's married or what do you call it, the
Let's call her engaged.
engaged. If she's
Only married,
engaged,
the Mishnah, the law, the Torah says the whole in of a Sotah, a woman, if she is suspected of having an affair, the husband has to warn her. And if he doesn't warn her, then he can divorce her, but she doesn't lose exuber. If he warns her and she does it again, what is the solution? He brings her to Yerushalayim to drink the water. If she doesn't want to drink the water, it is her privilege, but then she loses exuber. Now the question is,
well,
these women, which are like half married, and their behavior is not befitting a half married woman to behave, the law in the Mishnah says he can divorce her, and he can't make her to drink the water like in the case when they're completely married, and she will lose the ksuba. The question is, does he have to warn her before in order to lose the ksuba? So the Mishnah want to say, since that we derive from the Mishnah that he does warn her, what the warning for what? Isn't for in order to be able to deprive her of the ksuba.
Rabbi, you got 4 minutes.
You
got 4 minutes.
Did you get the point?
Yeah.
no.
Why not?
So Amar Abaye said, no, there is no proof from our Mishnah. You know what you need the warning for? Perhaps it requires only to forbid her to him. Maybe she is losing her ksuba even without warning. What does he need the warning for? That, let us say, if he wants to continue with the marriage to completely, if he warns her, she becomes forbidden for him to marry her, or even if he divorce her, he can't remarry her. For that, you need the warning. But the ksube, maybe she loses even if she wasn't warned. This is Abaye's approach. Right?
Rabbi, you got 2 minutes.
Okay, Rav Papa has got a different answer to say why there is no solution from our Mishnah to this question. So this will have to continue, please God, next week, Thursday. Okay?
Thank you, Rav.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rob.
Rav.
In the meantime,
Rabbi Refush Neymar, Violin.
I said, in the meantime, I say good Shabbos to you. I want you to know that I've got new Einiklach. Great
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
grandson.
Mazel tov.
One
Mazel tov.
grandson, which Aviva has got a grandson that was born last Shabbos. The bris will be this Shabbos. And the son of Chavaita was also had a grandson which will have a bris on Monday. So there are 2 simchas in
Mazel tov and lots
Mazel
of nachas.
tov. Mazel tov.
Mazel
Mazel
tov.
tov.
We should
Lots
only
of nachas.
hear good news, and the main thing to be healthy. This is what I say. Healthy is important, especially in our age. John,
Amen.
you agree that we need to have health.
Amen.
Amen, Rav.
So
Mazel
good
tov.
night.
Mazel tov.
Good night and good Shabbos.
Good
Good
night.
night.
God
Okay,
bless
Mazel
everyone.
Tov.
Refuah Shleimah. Good job.
Thank you.
First name.
Thank you.